Good morning and welcome back to Planecraft. I'm Natalie and today we're going to be doing a little bit of watercolour. So just while I'm waiting for everybody to join us, I'll just wait for a few hellos. Oh. Good. So don't be afraid to say hi and let us know that you're watching. If you're watching on Facebook for the first time, you can head to chat.restream.io to have your name appear on the video. So hi Tracy, hi Thea. I see the chat exactly as you do on the stream. So this is going to be live and real time. So on my desk I have one that I've already done a blog piece on. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different, but kind of the same basic technique. So hi Anne from Sydney. Hi Deb. So I've got a piece of A5 card, and this is all media card from Papermate Direct, but any 300 GSM watercolour card will do. Hi Louise, and hi Sally. Pen wise, we have some Doodlerz Fashions. So these are a 1mm gel pen, and these are water reactive. And am I feeling better today? A bit wobbly. I also have some Papermate Inkjoy liquids, which are a 0.5 needle point, so these are much finer, but they do have a lovely, if I bring it slightly close to the camera, let's get the card actually, probably easier to see than my hand. We have a nice metal tip to those. And hi Mum. Hi Carol. I'm also going to be using the 3D Fun Printz pen holder. So if you don't have one of these already, do enter our challenge because you stand a chance of being selected to receive a free one. You are going to need a water brush. Make sure you've got plenty of water in it. Or you can just use a nylon paintbrush and some water. Now the reason I say nylon is you're going to want something that's got a bit of strength to it to actually move that colour. Yes, Louise, I can say that too. I've got 1 or 2 pens, haven't I, Mum? Just 1 or 2. Yeah, 1 or 2,000. Okay, so moving to the machine. Oh, Ian's on his way, so you can say hi quickly while he's on his break.
I'm bringing in tea. I've been tea boy.
My machine's going to go and pick that exact moment to go onto standby. Naughty machine. So I'm going to go to retrieve data. I'm going to bring in the first part of my design. So I've saved all 3 rounds to my USB to make it a bit easier to save flicking between computer and machine today.
Morning everybody.
So I'm going to go down to my folder and
See you later.
okay.
Bye everybody.
I'm going to do my foliage first. So I'm going to add that to my mat. And I've already done all my positioning and everything in Canvas. Yep, tea boy. Definitely tea boy. Yet he doesn't drink it himself. So I've done all my positioning. And I know that I want to put my A5 card landscape on my mat. And before I go too far, just so you can see some of the other pens that I considered, let's go back overhead. So I've given myself a little bit of a tester. So I did a little bit of a block of a scribble and gone over that with water. I've done an individual line and gone over that with water and then made a note of what pen it is. So you can see in my sample that the Doodlerz will blend out, and where it's quite solid you won't really see the lines. Now this will develop over time, so when you first do it it's going to look like it's not moving very much. So give it time to develop and see how it goes. The Inkjoy is down the bottom and you can see we have a lot of pigment that moves, but you still get a little bit of that line texture to it. So that's something to bear in mind when we're actually doing the drawing. So the design I'm using today is actually a freebie from Creative Fabrica just for today. So it's good to hop over to that, and it's on the daily gifts tab, and I will pop up a link later on in the group. So if you're not a member of the group, head there and then you can see that I'll pop up lots of links where I get different files. Yeah, it's evening in Australia at the moment. So at the moment here it's 11 o'clock. Well, 11:06 to be exact. So we're going to grab our mat. And I've designed this to go up into this top left hand corner. So I'm not going to be cutting this out today. It's just going to be literally drawing. So I don't mind that my mat is a little bit looser than I would usually like it for cutting. I'm going to load it in, if it behaves. Come on, play nice today. Anybody think I hadn't used it yesterday? Come on. There we go. You random machine, you, sometimes, honestly. So let's pick our first pen. So our first layer is going to be Foliage, so I'm going to go for the green Doodlerz. So let's flick back to overhead. So with your 3D Fun Prints pen holder, you're going to have the main barrel. You have a little screw cap here, which is how it's going to tighten and grip the pen. And you have a little removable guide that basically acts as a stop for where your nib's going to finish. So if we pop that through there, you're going to see that that nib hits into that guide. I'm just keeping my finger there while I tighten that little screw thread. So you don't want to over tighten, but you certainly want it tight enough that if you give it a gentle tug, it's not going to go anywhere. And hi Michael. Hi Karen. So I'm going to pop that into my machine, and I will move the camera in a minute so that you can actually see it working. So let's go back to close cam. And while that's there, I'm just going to move the camera, because otherwise I make you all terribly troublesick. I'm going to go OK. Go to draw. Now because these pens don't stay wet very long, we can just use draw rather than using the foil glue pen setting. If you're working with something that is a little wetter, then you might want to consider using that foil setting instead. And morning Linda. So we have our pressure on -1. Now what I would say is, particularly with the liquid pen, you may want to lower that down a bit. Otherwise you can find it dents the surface of your watercolour card a little. But I'm going to go for it and see how we go. Oh, the other thing to do before we go anywhere, just thinking, that was a close call. I put some colours in this and I just want to check that that fill isn't working. So I'm just going to turn the fill off. And basically, if you colour something in canvas, which is what I did, then it's going to turn that fill setting on. So just make sure you turn it off, because otherwise you're not going to get the true effect of what we're doing. So go OK, 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 OK. You end up doing a lot of OKs on the DX as opposed to the CM. We're going to go to draw. And we'll go start. Now it's going to say attach appropriate holder. That's just because we're using 3D Fun Prints pen holder instead of the brother one. So just go OK and press start again, and off it will go. So what are you working on then, Karen? You've got us all intrigued now. Yeah, so we have a sticker course that is running tomorrow at 10 o'clock. That's GMT for those in the UK. If you find that that time doesn't suit you, however, it will be available to watch back after the stream. So that's going to be all about planner stickers and doing print and cut and bleeds and all exciting stuff like that. So while I'm doing that, just realised I need to change the clock. There we go. And let's move that over slightly so you can see that slightly better. There we go. Is that going to be a case of Mark, don't sit still, else you're going to get stickered? Of course, the advantage of creating your own planner stickers is you can always be a bit naughty if you want to be. So when you go on the Creative Fabrica site, it's going to tell you that this is a single line design. It's not quite. So you'll see that it's drawing in that outline of the actual stroke rather than a true single line. So if I zoom in a bit closer so you can see that and see what I mean. So rather than going down the centre of that stroke, it's gone around the outside. So it's not quite single line, but it does for what we're doing. Yeah, we do tend to be a little bit naughty, don't we, on occasion? Okay, so let me just see if I can get this just to rest there for a moment. And let's go back to close cam. So I'm going to take my pen out and get that ready to swap over to the next one. I'm going to go OK. We can go home to reset, and then we can bring in our next layer. So one of the joys of positioning it all in canvas before we get started is that we can just literally go layer, layer, layer rather than having to worry about doing lots of background scanning. So you'll see in the blog piece when it comes out, I say about doing this with the built-in designs, and then you can actually use a background scan to check between layers if you wish to. But I thought for speed today I would do it this way. So again, I've added the next one, and we'll turn off that fill. So I'm just going to turn that off as a group. So if there's something you want to change for multiple shapes, if you just do that little group step first, it makes it a lot easier. Yep, there's lots of videos that I've done on the CM as well. So don't be afraid to go back and watch. There's probably over 700 videos at least now that we've done during the past year. So there's both CM models and DX models in past videos. It's a bit easier at the moment to stream from the DX, which is why I tend to stick to this one just for now, but I will swap them over and go back to doing some with the CM as well. So let's go and start that drawing. Always a good idea to put the pen in though. Right, so for this one I'm going to go for Ooh, let's go for the Inkjoy. And we're going to go for the light blue. So let's go back to the overhead. So I have my holder. I'm going to clip on the removal guide, pop it in the top, and again it's exactly the same process, just keeping that finger there lightly as I tighten up that screw. And you know, I'm not over tightening it, it's just literally just enough to make sure that it stays put, because obviously there is still a certain amount of pressure that is going to go through that nib. Okay, so back to close cam. That still looks like it's filled, but we'll see how it goes. If it starts to fill, I'll stop it. So what I might do at this point actually is do it so that I just have one in that blue. So you don't necessarily have to have two flowers at the same colour. Hope everything's going okay, Carol. Or as okay as can be okay, if you see what I mean. Unfortunately we have a similar situation at the moment. Let's go overhead. So I'm just going to pause it there. So while that is paused, we can flick that up. So I'm just going to unscrew the pen holder, take that one out, and let's swap in a different one. So I'm going to go for the Inkjoy purple. Again, make sure that you pop your guide back on, slide the pen in and tighten it up. And I'm sorry if that's a little bit fuzzy. Autofocus works when you don't want it to sometimes. So what I forgot to mention before is there's two lines on your holder, and you always make sure that those go to the back. I tend to do it as a kind of automatic thing now, but once you get used to it, it's just, you don't think about it. So if we go start, it can then carry on drawing. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that, Carol. I'll message you after and just check in and see how you're doing. Okay. So that's our first set of flowers done. And let's load up the second. So I'm going to go back to close cam, go OK, home to reset, back to retrieve data, USB. Back to our watercolour stream. And this time we're going to go for flower 2. And go OK. So for this one I want to go more pinky tone, so I'm going to go for the Inkjoy pink, so really pink. And you the same as all the others, so I'm just going to pop that in. And again, I'm just going to go to Edit, Select All, OK, Object Edit, Group, Fill, turn it off, OK, OK, and OK again, and OK again. And I'm going to go to draw. Now this time I'm just going to let it just do it with this one pen. So let's go Start, OK, and Start. Back to overhead, so you can see it in process. Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that, Carol. Have you approached the school at all? Sadly, one of my friends lost a dad. Would have been, I think it might even been beginning of year 7 or year 8, one or the other. Must have been year 7 actually, and she got bullied for it. No, at 9 or 10, no, they shouldn't be doing that. You know, I often think that bullies learn that behaviour from somewhere, and usually it's not school. There are some specialty support services as well, Carol, that can help her. And definitely locally as well. Okay, so we've done our drawing. Let's unload that from the mat. So one of the things that I tested for when I was doing my little swatching was to actually leave it for a bit before I applied that water, so that it allowed time for that ink to dry, so I could see how much it would actually blend once it's been drawn. So I'm just going to unload my mat so we have a little bit more room to play then. Let's lift that up and let's readjust the camera. There we go. And sorry because I just made you all travel sick. Let's move that across there. There we go. So with our drawn images, you might like it not just like that, but if we bring in our original, you can see that actually we can go really colourful and really make it pop. So I'm just going to pop that up there. Let's pull this up a little bit so you can see both. If you want me to zoom back in so you can see a closer view of what I'm doing, don't hesitate to ask. Hello! Yeah, teachers should do lessons on bullying and what the consequences are, because they're lifelong, unfortunately. Take it from somebody who knows all too well. both Ian and I did suffer with it when we were at school. And you wouldn't think it to, you know, look at Ian, he's this big 6 foot scary person. But yeah, even poor Ian was bullied. So I'm going to start off with my foliage because that was what took the longest time to, since we've been drawing. And I'm just going to apply a bit of water. So you're going to find as you start to do this that the colour is going to start to bleed, and the longer that water stays on there, the more those lines are going to vanish. So particularly with the Doodlerz, you're going to find that that really starts to soften. Now at this point you might decide, well actually that's enough, I don't really want to go and put any colour into the leaves, and that's fine. If you want to stop there you can do, but I'm just going to add a bit of water in between, and this is where you're going to start to see that it's pulling that colour in. I'm just going to get my doodler and I'm just going to gently tap that water. So I'm not drawing a line, I'm just literally tapping to introduce some of the ink into that water. Then we can actually start to move that colour down that leaf. And it's going to start to give it a little bit of a 3D appearance, but you're not going to get that kind of streaky look that you're thinking. Now because this is still wet here, I'm going to move up into this flower here because you can see already we're starting to get a little bit bleeding, and that's fine. Don't panic and think, oh no, it's all going wrong. No, you're absolutely fine to just carry on, trace this round. And this is exactly what I did with these flowers here, just taking that water around the edge. And that's going to help create the shading for our petals. Okay. So something like this, you can say, well actually that might be a bit of shade there, so we can fill that in. I'm going to then come back and trace around this edge. And it's not about keeping it in the lines, if anything it's quite the opposite, because you want to bring it in towards that centre of that petal. And I'm going to just do a little tiny bit of detail with our green pen just into this centre here. So bear in mind, this is drawn with our Inkjoy at the moment, around the outside, and the two will happily blend together just using that little bit of water. And let's just do that bit I missed there. Okay. If you want to introduce some other colours you can do, so if you're thinking, well actually I just need to put a bit of shade in there, I can bring in the purple. Now bear in mind what I said about the Inkjoys, you're going to get that kind of line. So if you want to then introduce it so that it has not so much of a detail, we can then dot that into the wet too. And it won't hurt the pens doing that. So we're starting to make it look a lot more watercoloury. Now give your brush a clean because we don't want to take that blue into that next flower. So again, I'm going to trace down the foliage, just round that outside edge, like so. Now this time I'm going to do something a bit more bold. So I'm going to fill that and just kind of leave just a bit of a jagged edge. So that's going to be kind of dark. And then as we start to actually drop in our colour into the wet, you're going to see it gets lighter. And again, we can just pull that out so that we start to create a difference between the foliage of each plant. So even though we're only using one pen, it's still going to look like it is different. And I'm going to do the same with the stem and pull that up. So as I said, you will find that that line work will develop. So if we look back at our foliage here, you can see it's already knocked back that outline. Yep, it's just water. It's just water. So the Doodlerz fashions will do this. The glitters, the metallics and the neons will not. Some of the Scribblicious pens worked, so the pastel colours worked, but they're really pale anyway. And the Inkonics by Arteza is a nylon nib pen, like just a fine liner. So those will work as well because those are water based. That's awful, Carol. Kids can be so cruel. Do you know why I was bullied at school? And this has got to be the stupidest reason ever. And I was bullied because I was too happy. Basically what I was told. I was too happy. Which, no. I always thought, well, if you actually knew what, what life was like, especially sort of year 9, year 10, Mum, you'd have actually had a right laugh at presuming that, and it's just... So, they just wanted to just make me not happy. And you know what? For a little while, it friggin' worked. And one of my other school friends was so bullied that she actually changed schools. And the school did nothing. So I suppose we can safely say that, things have moved on a little bit. And while they're not perfect, they're better than they were. Which is saying something. So, I got my kind of loops going on, and I'm thinking, well, it would be nice to have a little bit more colour just in these petals here, so we start to look a bit more like it's an actual rounded flower. So I'm just going to introduce them on this edge here. And don't worry about having perfect outlines, that's not what this effect is about. So you'll see from the original it's quite really loose, really soft, but with a nice amount of pigment to make it kind of punch. Okay, now clean your brush again, because going from pink to green is never a good idea, because what you'll get is a lovely shade of brown, and that's not what we want. Morning, Jennifer. Yep, if you've got the big Scribblicious set, that's the ones that I tested. Was I the class clown? No, I was just permanently smiley. Which you can see if you look on like school photos and stuff. Until about the age of... probably about 13, 14, eh, Mum? Okay, so I'm going to go and just do a little bit of water just up here and a little bit just here. again, just going to drop in just a few little dots. And while that's puddled up on top, we can just blend those out a little bit. So one of the things I try to do is always include at least a couple of colours to kind of give it that painterly feel, that you're not just doing monotone shading. Oh goody, some people to block on Twitch, yay. So I'm going to just bring in that green. You can see there that it's going to go a little bit brown, don't worry, we're going to pop in a little bit purple, and that's going to help blend that between the two colours, like so. That's going to be our little dark bit in there. We can start to bring that down, and we can do a little bit shading. Now let's go and follow this round. So this was the Inkjoy liquid that we drew this section with, but I do have the Doodler right here, so if I need to introduce some more colours I can. So with this one I'm going to go a little bit darker. So I've filled that line anyway, and then we can actually come and put in some of that Doodler. So with some of the colours you'll find that if you've got like a good coverage of water, they're actually almost, it's almost a bit like if you put nail varnish in water, it'll actually kind of spread out. Oh no. That's dreadful. But unfortunately recently we found out that Jamie's been bullied. And the school are trying to deal with that at the moment. But he's only just said, and he's been bullied since year 7. He's now in year 9, going into year 10. He doesn't know why he's bullied, or why they've singled him out. Again, he's a little cheerful soul. Yeah, it tends to be that the nicest ones are the ones that tend to get bullied, unfortunately. And again, he's got more than enough to deal with. So I'm going to go and put my darkest colour into the centre. And if at first it doesn't blend out and you're looking at that and you're thinking, oh no, I've made a mistake, don't panic. Just keep going. As I said, these colours do develop as they dry. I'm just going to dot in a bit more so that we can kind of pull that up. There we go. And I'm going to go around this bit here, and I'm going to leave that fairly light so it's looking like it's actually sticking forward. Give your brush a good clean. So what I'm doing to clean my brush is I'm just using a bamboo cloth, so these can be washed and reused several times over. Probably the closest I've come to being bullied at work is, you know, former bosses, but thankfully I was really fortunate with this, the kind of second place that I worked for, that we were all on the same wavelength. you know, it's definitely more of a school and even a little bit at college, but it didn't really bother me at college. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's a bit harder for us to do something about Jamie because obviously he's so far away from us and it's not good. So I'm just going to fill in this bottom section here. So that's going to then start to blend that out. So one of the things I did with my other piece was actually go into the background as well. So we'll show a little bit of that. And I'm just going to move that dark edge with the dark outline on this side. There we go. Okay, so into our little pink section here, I'm going to fill that in with Doodler, like so, and then we can blend that with some water. So you could be doing this with normal paintbrush and water, just as long as it's got those nylon bristles to just kind of push the colour, is the best way I can describe it. So with this one I'm going to drop in a little bit of that purple Inkjoy, just to kind of add a bit of depth and differentiate it from our pink flower here. And again along this edge here, and this one here. And it's not about being the world's best colourer in. It doesn't even matter if you get it outside the lines, because the water's going to go outside the lines anyway. I'm just going to push that colour up. So you'll see I'm almost literally pushing that brush along the paper rather than taking it softly across it that way. Then when I come back into the inside to blend it out, then I'll be soft. Again here, scrub, 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 and soft. And again, scrub, 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 and soft. If you're finding that your brush is starting to get a little bit dry, just give it a little squeeze over your bamboo cloth. Don't do it over your work, because there's nothing worse than the random drop appearing. And then we can go around this outside edge. Give that a little bit of a scrub. Smooth it off on that top edge. Now we want to make it look like this is actually going to start going down inside. And you'll see that when you do this, that your colours are going to look like they're bleeding a bit. That's okay. We're going to go back over the top and we're going to blend it all anyway, like so. And same from here, just drag that down there and just fill in. Down this bottom here, I'm going to add a bit more colour, because again, you've got petals that are coming forward and then a bit that's tucking down inside. So just use your shading just to show that. Any spare pigment on your brush, you can come back to your lower petals and we can just blend those in. Okay, so that's how we can go from outline to having our nice blended effects. We can build up with different colour pieces if you're using some of the built-in designs as well. So with this one, the outside flower is drawn in that blue Inkjoy. The next inside piece is drawn with the purple Doodler, and then that final inside bit is actually drawn with the pink Inkjoy, not the green. Okay, so then you can do your blend between the pink and the purple without worrying that you're going to get brown. To do the background, if you want to, I actually went in with a water brush first. So let all your flowers dry, go in with a water brush, and then actually just dot your colour into it. You can see here I've done a few little lines if you want to put in some texture, and I've even doodled in some little stems and things to connect our flowers. And then these little flowers here are actually just little tiny little coils. So if I grab a little purple pen, all you really do is just literally draw a spiral and go over with the water. And because you've drawn that line without letting it kind of sink in and dry, you'll find that you get a much softer effect than some of your outlines. So let's do that again so that we have a little bit of a theme going on. And if you want to, you can do a watercolour sentiment in the same way. The other thing that you can do is let this dry thoroughly, and then you can actually just tighten that back up, draw back onto this with the same Inkjoys for your sentiment. So you're doing a 1-layer card front. So that's the purple one over there. So let's do some little blue ones over here. And another one here. And oh, decisions. Let's go for a little one here. It's not as big. Just do a little pink one. And another little pink one over here, just to balance that out. And maybe another little pink one just in the middle there. Just going to give my brush a little bit more water, it's just still getting a little bit dry. There we go. So the planner sticker workshop starts at 10 tomorrow. It's all day workshop. It's £20 to non-members or £15 for members. And you can purchase that and buy me a coffee. So if you'd like to take part with that, that's how you sign up and we'll get you into the group. And that completes our streams for this week. They are lovely pens, definitely. If you go on the ScanNCut and Papercraft courses, classes and workshops by Plannercraft, it's the longest group name ever, I've actually got a Amazon link for the Doodlerz, which come in a pack of 60 for 20 quid, which I think is an absolute bargain. The Inkjoy liquids, I've put them in the Amazon shop. I don't think there's a link on the group at the moment, but I can always add one if you'd like me to. And you're doing very well, Carol. Very, very well. You should give yourself a good pat on the back. Anybody that decides to try and take up any language, and you know, reading and music is a language, sort of anything post sort of 30 is actually, you know, being very brave. Okay, I'll pop the Inkjoy liquid up on the group. So, take care for now, and if there's no more questions, I will call it a day. I will be back on Tuesday, and I want to try and catch up on some of the streams I've had to miss this week. So I'm hoping to do a Your Votes count on Tuesday, and I have some fun things to show you. So take care, and bye!